joining with the Attorney General's Office and the Department of Public Safety as they are launching a statewide human trafficking education and awareness campaign. And joining us now, the president of the Mississippi Trucking Association, Mr. Hal Miller. Hal, thanks for joining us today.
You bet.
It's a big day here in Mississippi as we amp up the focus on this scourge of human trafficking. And I got to tell you, Hal, the more I learn about it, the more I hear about it, the more informed I become, the madder I get and the sadder I get. Mm-hmm. It's just incredible. And you and I were talking before we came on the air. It's everywhere. We think, oh, it's not in my backyard. It's not happening here. It's not happening in Mississippi. This is something that you'd find along the border, for example. That's just not the truth.
No, it is not the truth. And, the big push on all this, Gerard, is, like you said, the more you learn about it, it's educating people on human trafficking. And that's been a big role that we've had. We got engaged with an outfit called Truckers Against Trafficking back probably 8 or 9 years ago. And what they do is they're an organization that comes in and teaches you, first of all, what human trafficking really is. Mm-hmm. And to your point, people don't understand what it really is. And so they, secondly, have to learn what to look for. And that's the next thing Truckers Against Trafficking does. They teach people in our industry what to look for. And then the third component is once they learn what to look for, then they're going to report it to, they have very specific, the National Human Trafficking Hotline. They're giving that information because truckers are good folks and they want to get involved any way they can, but unfortunately if they step in the wrong capacity, people get hurt, including those being trafficked. And so that's a big role we play in educating our folks. We've got a lot of members that have incorporated in their training program the human trafficking component, and will teach, again, their employees what it really is, what it looks like, and what to do. And thousands of Mississippi-based truck drivers have been educated on human trafficking, and that's great. Through our membership, they've done that. But what's taking place today between the Attorney General and the Commissioner's efforts, you're fixing to reach out significantly to a much larger audience. What people don't realize is how big trucking is in the state of Mississippi. 1 out of every 12 jobs in the state of Mississippi is in the trucking industry. Almost 10% of the working population is in our industry.
Wow.
So we can reach out to that group of people and, again, tell them the story, tell them what it looks like and what to do. You have really enlarged the community of people that are fighting against human trafficking.
Yeah, because a lot of times, this is happening out in the open, and we're just unaware of it.
Exactly.
But if we learn and are better educated about how to recognize it and report it, and arguably no one is in a better position for that just because of the fact that so much of this nonsense happens at truck stops where the truckers are. And as you indicated, you kind of stole my thunder there. It's a big industry in our state. And for that, we're very grateful. We're right here at KLLM Transport Service. This is a big Mississippi company that is known throughout the country for what they do. And a number of others, such as Miller Transporters and other great companies as well here in Mississippi. But you're sort of enlisting a large contingent of kind of deputies, is a way to describe it, I guess.
Exactly, and that's, the trucking industry has always stepped up in issues like this. Back after 9/11, the trucking industry was recruited and the drivers were trained on how to spot the terrorists and terrorist activity, so they stepped up and got very engaged with that. And this is kind of along the same lines. Once a trucker gets engaged in something like this, they're going to do it and be a part of the solution. And so we're just proud to be allowed to be a part of this overall effort.
And, this is a great example, don't you think, Hal, of where the public sector and the private sector are joining and combining their efforts to do good for the community, to do good for the state.
And it is, and it's neat. I was out there on the podium earlier looking at across the room, and it's a community of people that are fighting against human trafficking. And I started looking at all the faces and all the different agencies and all the different volunteer groups and what have you that are sitting out there, and you realize how many people are really pulling together and any way they can to help. It is just really, it's heartwarming to see, but then you start hearing about human trafficking and you realize how much more has to be done. So we're just glad to be a part of it.
It's incredible when you think about it. Again, it just seems like it's an underworld that a lot of folks just are not aware of. We're kind of accustomed to sort of the out in the open sorts of crimes, but these things are just not known about.
I think this is one of the crimes that a lot of people don't want to know about because it is very close to home, and once you learn about it, you realize how horrific it is. And it is not like a one time the crime is done and it's over with. It is day after day after day. These victims are trapped in it. And it's such a horrific story that I think in a lot of cases people don't want to know about it and they don't want to think that's in their backyard, and it very much is. And all over the state, it's everywhere.
And we had one of the victims of human trafficking that was present today speaking, and my understanding is that she's been making the rounds, discussing her story and her case. And people come away very affected listening to her remarks. But we were told in the last segment by Sandy Middleton that she made the comment, you know, if this doesn't bother you, what I'm sharing with you, then you can't be bothered. You're just not a human that's capable of that particular human emotion. But we got a long way to go, obviously, but you got to believe that these efforts are going to address this situation and help us reduce, if not totally eliminate, human trafficking, certainly in our state.
Yep, it's going to take a lot of effort from a lot of people. And you mentioned Sandy Middleton. Sandy's one of the heroes in this. She can pull together a group of folks and tackle this, and she's tackling this cause and helping on multiple levels, not just in the prevention of it, but also once people are rescued from it, she's engaged with helping them, you know, to recover from it. And it's just a big community that a lot of folks need to be a part of.
Yeah, now you represent lots of companies in the trucking industry with the Trucking Association. When you first approached them about joining in and supporting these efforts, what kind of response did you get?
Well, once they hear from a victim, once they hear the real story, they jumped in with both feet. Again, the Truckers Against Trafficking, they came and spoke to our organization at a convention, and have come to the state several times since then.
Yeah.
And once they hear that story, I mean, just an example, I had 3 trucking companies represented at it. I had KLLM, Miller Transporters, and Total Transportation. They were all in the audience, and just those 3 alone have trained over 10,000 people in how to spot him. Once you hear the story, you're engaged, and that's the key, is getting the story out.
Because the reality is, as widespread as this is and as covert as it is, we can't just rely on law enforcement officers and the judicial system to take this stuff down.
Right.
We've got to have feet on the street, citizens that see this and are aware of how to recognize it, that can report it to the proper authorities and get something done about it. And that's essentially what we're doing here.
Yep.
And, you know, there's something else we've got to take note of too, Hal, and you well aware of this. This comes at a cost. I mean, these trucking companies they're not doing this to make more money off of it. This is a cost out of their pocket to educate their people, to be aware of it, to just have any kind of functionality associated with human trafficking embedded in their organization. I mean, this is a situation where your members, the private sector, is giving back for the good of the community.
It's just the right thing to do.
It absolutely
is. It's just the right thing to do.
But my hat's off to them, because it's not core to their business. I mean, their business is moving goods and transporting goods. But the fact that they recognize the value of and how they can be valuable in combating the scourge, I just wanted to say thank you to you and your members for getting involved in that respect. And man, the more I hear about this, again, I can't keep saying it, the madder I get about it, because it's just not something we talk about. We tend to focus on more, I guess, traditional crime, and as you said, we don't want to talk about it because it's not a fun subject to talk about.
It's not.
But it's humans doing terrible things to other humans. Somewhere we're going awry in society, and we got to fix that problem.
Well, it's neat. You see the community and the expansion of the community now. The Truckers Against Trafficking, once they infiltrated the trucking industry, they realized, okay, there's other components here that need to be involved. And they got the truck stop industry involved. And they're now training the truck stop industry. And then they reached out and got the bus industry and trained. And they're finding all these different similar situations where they know that a lot of activity is going on and can be seen. We had a coalition build back before COVID down on the coast, where Truckers Against Trafficking came and put on a program and invited the casino industry. And I talked to a number of the casino security people, and afterwards they said, It's been right in front of us, and we have not realized what we were seeing.
Unbelievable. So then after they're educated, are they able to recognize it, pick up on it, and then make reports?
The way I was told is they were going to start adjusting their policies and procedures to realize those people are victims and not the criminals that they're seeing.
I got you.
And that makes a big difference.
Hal Miller, the president of the Mississippi Trucking Association, has been our guest in this segment. Hal, thanks so much for the efforts of your efforts and those of your association and truckers across our state. This is really just a good day for Mississippi, I think, in amping up the efforts to combat human trafficking. Thanks for joining us, Hal.
Thanks, Gerard.